Everyone's turning on Patrick Mahomes following egregious penalty. Is it finally too much? Alright, folks, it's happened. When even the commentators start calling out Patrick Mahomes, you know it's officially reached a boiling point. The Kansas City Chiefs quarterback has been at the center of a whirlwind of controversy during the AFC Divisional round game against the Houston Texans on Saturday. It seems like every time Mahomes even looks like he's been touched, a flag flies. And, trust me, it wasn't just the Chiefs fans who were grumbling about this. The whole internet had something to say about the penalties. The first incident, a little tickle. A lot of flags. The first questionable moment came in the first quarter when Will Anderson, the Texans defender, was hit with a roughing the passer penalty. Why? Because, apparently, Mahomes got a little tap from Anderson after releasing the ball. It wasn't exactly a violent collision, more like a friendly, "Hey, I see you," tap. But, hey, when Mahomes is in the game, even a light touch is apparently enough to send him flying straight into a field goal attempt from Harrison Butker. So, in short, a barely noticeable tap led to a free 15 yards and some extra points. You know, the usual for Mahomes. But hey, we move. The second incident, Mahomes slide into drama. But the real drama went down in the third quarter. Mahomes, trying to take off on a run, decided to do what Mahomes does best, create magic. But as he tried to slide to avoid a hit, Henry Toto of the Texans made a tackle that, in the most basic of terms, wasn't really that late. However, it sure looked like Mahomes thought it was. Because, oh boy, he went into full dramatic mode, arms flailing, face scrunched up in agony. And suddenly, we had ourselves a flag for a late hit. And just like that, another free 15 yards. Sure, Mahomes wasn't hit late, but why let that stop him from getting some bonus yards? This extra set of downs would, of course, lead to Travis Kelce's 11-yard touchdown. And suddenly the Chiefs were up by 8. The fans, however, were not pleased. In fact, they were downright fed up. The internet reacts. A serious outcry. Fans of other teams, especially those not sipping the Mahomes Kool-Aid, couldn't help but voice their frustration. They couldn't help but notice that C.J. Stroud, the Texans QB, had been hit late multiple times throughout the game. But the second Mahomes gets touched, a flag and an extra 15 yards come flying in like it's Christmas morning. You can almost hear the internet collectively saying, "Why is Mahomes getting all this VIP treatment?" The reactions were swift and blunt, with Twitter practically exploding. One fan wrote, "CJ Stroud gets tackled to the ground like it's a rugby match. But Mahomes gets a free penalty every time someone breathes near him. What is this? The Mahomes Protection Act? Ouch." The big question. Is it time to call out the refs? Look, we all know Mahomes is one of the best players in NFL history. The guy is already a Super Bowl legend and has an arsenal of crazy passes that leave us all in awe. But there's a fine line between giving the quarterback the benefit of the doubt and creating a scenario where it feels like a player can get a free pass at every slight touch. It's one thing if Mahomes is genuinely being targeted, but it starts to feel like he's benefiting from some seriously questionable officiating when it seems like the refs are constantly ready to flag every little brush of a defender. Are the referees protecting him because of his status as a Super Bowl winner? Or is it just a case of overzealous officiating? Either way, it's starting to become more of a spectacle than a sport. Conclusion. The ref's whistle needs a break. So, where do we go from here? Will this continue? Or are we finally going to see some accountability for these questionable penalties? Mahomes doesn't need any extra help to win games. The guy is already playing at an elite level. At this rate, he's becoming less of a football star and more of a walking penalty magnet. Fans are starting to wonder if Mahomes has somehow become the untouchable QB, where even a gentle breeze towards him triggers a flag. Whatever the case may be, one thing's for sure. It's making the NFL a little less fun for everyone else. Let's just hope the referees start to let the game breathe a bit more, especially when it comes to Mahomes. The guy doesn't need extra penalties. He's already got enough tricks up his sleeve to win without them. Patrick Mahomes' shameless flop. Is it time for the NFL to institute a flopping penalty? Alright, folks, we need to talk. Patrick Mahomes, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, pulled off something on Saturday that even the most seasoned professional wrestlers would call a bit much. And no, it wasn't a crazy no-look pass or a miraculous game-winning throw. It was a flop. Yes, you read that right, the MVP. The man who makes impossible throws look easy. Did a little bit of acting. And honestly, it's got us all wondering, should there be a flopping penalty in the NFL? The incident, a late hit. That wasn't. Let's set the scene, shall we? The Kansas City Chiefs were deep in Texans territory during the fourth quarter of their divisional round matchup. Mahomes, being the magician he is, decided to scramble and run out of bounds to stop the clock. But here's the kicker, he didn't actually cross the white line. Nope, he stopped just short, and that's when the Texans defender gave him a tiny little push that barely sent him into the out-of-bounds area. So, naturally, Mahomes did what any self-respecting football player would do in this situation. He proceeded to flop like a fish out of water. Flailing his arms, clutching his face, and putting on a performance that would make Hollywood jealous. Mahomes made it look like he'd been hit well after the play. But in reality, he wasn't hit late at all. He just took a little extra theatrical liberty with it. And the best part? The refs didn't even bat an eye. They just let it go, awarding the Chiefs 15 free yards for what can only be described as a flop worthy of a Golden Globe nomination. What did Mahomes do next? Oh, just the usual. Now, most players would be satisfied with the extra yards and go about their business. But not Mahomes. Oh no, he had to make sure that 15-yard gift didn't go to waste. A couple of plays later, Mahomes did his best, I'm falling but still throwing touchdowns impression and managed to toss a ridiculous touchdown pass while being sacked and falling down like he was trying out for a stunt double roll. It was, of course, another spectacular play that made Chiefs fans scream in joy and every non-Chiefs fan groan in frustration. But the real question is, should we allow this kind of behavior? Is this the example we want set by the face of the league? Is flopping really that bad? Let's be clear. Mahomes is a generational talent. The man's made Super Bowl history, defied physics, and performed feats of athleticism that make mere mortals like us wish we had a shred of his ability. But let's also be honest, there's no reason for a player of his caliber to be flopping for extra penalties. It's like watching a magician pull off a trick. But then, instead of amazement, you feel a little tricked. There's no official flopping penalty in the NFL's rulebook. Which is kind of surprising given how much drama flopping can cause in other sports. I'm looking at you. Soccer. However, the NFL has called penalties for unsportsmanlike conduct when players act like they've been hit harder than they actually were. And sure, there's room for interpretation. Maybe the ref didn't see the flop for what it was. But as this play shows, it's clear that a lot of players might be trying to game the system. And Mahomes is leading the way. The Mahomes effect, setting a dangerous precedent. The bigger issue here is the precedent it sets. Patrick Mahomes is the face of the league. He's the player kids want to be. The quarterback everyone else watches and emulates. When the top guy on the field is flopping for extra penalties. What does that say to the rest of the league? Are we really going to start seeing more players looking for free yards by pretending to be flung into the stratosphere every time a defender grazes their elbow? At some point, the NFL needs to step up and say, hey, that's not how we roll. I mean, this isn't the NBA where flopping has become a sport unto itself. This is football, where the players are already putting their bodies on the line. The last thing we need is more theatrics to mess with the flow of the game. The solution? A flopping penalty for the NFL? It's time for the NFL to step in and officially make flopping a punishable offense. We've already got penalties for unsportsmanlike conduct. So why not add a flopping rule to that list? After all, players shouldn't be able to create advantages for themselves by manipulating the refs with exaggerated reactions. A 15-yard penalty for flopping would do wonders to clean up the game and keep it more authentic. We can still have those legendary Mahomes moments. But let's not turn every little push out of bounds into a Hollywood production. Conclusion. Is Mahomes still the GOAT? Absolutely. Does he need to cut it out with the flopping? Also yes. Let's not kid ourselves here. Patrick Mahomes is still, without a doubt, one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game. But even the GOATs need to be held accountable when they pull off stunts like this. We can't let flopping become the new trend. Especially when it's the face of the NFL setting the example. Maybe next time Mahomes wants a few extra yards, he can just do what the rest of us do and ask politely. The referees might even be inclined to throw the flag without the drama. So, in short, no more flopping. Patrick, just make the throw, and leave the theatrics to the Oscars.